Look at the threading, yarn supply, and tension arrangements for this Orion machine. Yarn is intended to ride along in a yarn bowl. Mine came without one, but Passett bowls are still available and they more or less fit. You can see it doesn't slide on perfectly all the way down, but it's stable enough and it's worked well. With some pre-wound skeins of yarn that pull from the center, you can just feed like this. But I've just tested this one. The yarn, as you can see, hangs up on itself and comes out and makes snarls. It's just a matter of the texture of the yarn, so I'm going to need to rewind it. But for now, we're going to work with this in place just so you see how it could work and how it will work when I rewind my own center pull ball. From the bowl, the yarn comes up and goes between these two discs. This will adjust for tighter or looser tension. Then you come down the wire and rotate into that loop. You don't have to thread it, though you may if you want to. From the tension spring, which is what that is, it comes down here and goes behind a little arm. I'm going to try to find something to point to that arm with. It's a little steel loop. It's open on the right side, so you just pop it in. Now there is a divider in this steel folded tube, and the yarn pops right into it. And now we need to drop the tail down between the beds with a clothespin or something on it to control it. But that's all there is to threading, except for one little refinement. Between the tension discs is a little slot. It leads to an eyelet. The yarn needs to not only go between the discs, but pop into that eyelet. It may occur just because you did this, but it may not. You need to make sure it happens, and then it will feed nicely. This is a little bit unusual in my experience and is critical to good performance. And here's the only other thing you need to know. This is how the yarn mast fits into the socket. It's a funny shape. I'm not really sure why, but that's how they made it. And I'm showing you yarn that I just did use and made a sock with it feeding like this, so we know it works. This is the same yarn I showed you before that didn't want to feed well from the ball. Well, from the purchase skein. But it fed fine after I rewound it. If for some reason you need to replace this mast, I believe it to be 1/4 inch steel stock that has been bent into this position. If you had to replace it, you would need to buy a tension device from some currently existing machine and find a way to fasten it to the top of your rod. Let me get you a couple of measurements. There is the yarn bowl holder, and at the back, what makes it fit into the socket is, unlike some arrangements for tension masts, many times you see little wings sticking out. This one has a shaved off portion. If you go to get involved with making a mast, you'll want to be more precise than this, and you'll want to double check for yourself. But that's why I think that this was probably 1/4 inch stock, and you would want to measure at what point it had been shaved. The shaved area is not quite 1 inch long. If you have the yarn bowl, there is its dimension at the bottom, 1 inch wide. I should have said the bracket's dimension. 7/8 of an inch at the top I do not think this dimple matters greatly to the fit of the yarn bowl. It's just a way to get it attached to the mast and the mast out of the way. The length appears to be 11/16. If you must reconstruct the mast and the yarn bowl, you probably do not need to worry about making a bracket to hold a yarn bowl that you don't have. It might make sense simply to fasten a suitably sized yarn bowl onto here made out of something that you do have on hand. I really cannot tell you what the original one was like, but this one that's working is 4 3/8 inches across the top and right about 3 from the base to the top rim. I do not think that this shapeliness matters. It's probably not even true on the original Orion one. And since the butter container that I used was square and not quite this size, I don't think we have to be overly fussy about the shaping of the bottom. Another option for those who don't have an authentic mast is a freestanding mast. Actually, a ready-made product that clamps to the table exists. I have also made myself one, which I'll show you sometime another day.